Standing before the great door of Kildragon Castle, Lydia Savage shuddered involuntarily. The wind whistled eerily, and the constant hush, hush of the sea seemed to hint at some dark secret that must be hidden at all costs. Glancing sideways at her husband John, she was just about to make a cutting comment when the door swung open. In this gloomy Gothic pile, she would hardly have been surprised to be confronted by a skeletal apparition in a cowled cloak of purple velvet, and was almost disappointed to behold an elderly and perfectly respectable butler. Instead of frightening them out of their wits, he merely took Lydia's satin pelisse and relieved John of his greatcoat. Lydia silently chided herself for her own romantic fancies. After all, this was 1820, not the Middle Ages. Nevertheless, she was not in the best of moods. This was to have been a pleasant 3-week holiday with John's old schoolmate, Robert Kerr. They had not yet been here a se'nnight, and this morning, before daylight, they were practically dragged from their warm bed and summoned, nay, commanded, to attend Lord Strathairn at his ancestral home. Such high-handed methods did not sit well with her, though John seemed not to mind it in the least. On the other hand, there were few things which ruffled her large and generally placid husband. Ushered into a large drawing-room, they immediately perceived the master of Kildragon Castle, standing before a blazing fire, his slim form silhouetted by the writhing flames. He was much younger than Lydia had expected, not much above 30, she'd wager. He was a handsome man, with full but firm lips, large hazel eyes, and chestnut-coloured hair. As a woman, she could not help but approve what she saw. Lord Strathairn wasted little time on polite pleasantries. "We are steeped in death," he said. His words should have sounded absurdly dramatic, but they were uttered with such calm deliberation that it was impossible to be amused. Indeed, it was no more than the truth. There had been 2 deaths at the castle within 5 days. First, the drawing-master had fallen from the nearby cliffs, and yesterday Lord Strathairn's only son and heir, a lad not yet 12 years old, died in his sleep. "How is Lady Strathairn?" Lydia inquired. "Ah." He shook his head, but said no more. Lydia cast a glance at her husband, wondering how he reacted to this curious monosyllable. Raised brows indicated that he found it as disturbing as she did. "She keeps to her room, no doubt," John suggested. "I have had her confined to her room," Lord Strathairn corrected him. "She is kept under constant watch." "Has the shock affected her mind?" Lydia asked bluntly. He caught his lips between his teeth. "That is why I have summoned you here." "I cannot conceive what you expect us to do about it," John answered. The other man drew a deep breath. "My wife claims to have murdered both our son and Mr. Ellesmere." Whatever she might have been anticipating, nothing had prepared Lydia for such an incredible statement. She knew that her mouth had fallen open in sheer astonishment, and was annoyed with her husband for maintaining his habitually wooden expression. "If Lady Strathairn has confessed to the crimes," John remarked, his tone perfectly indifferent, "I fail to perceive why you have called upon us." "Your friend, Mr. Kerr, seems to think that you have a gift for solving such riddles." "There seems to be no riddle here," Lydia could not refrain from observing. He shook his head. "I do not believe that my wife would ever do anything to harm her son." "Then why would she accuse herself of the crime?" "I do not know, Mr. Savage." He put a hand to his temple, as if attempting to force the answer from his brain. "I can think of no reason, unless—" "Unless?" John's voice was unusually gentle. "Perhaps there is someone she is trying to protect." "Can you suggest who that person might be?" The other man hesitated a moment. "I do not know.